Welcome to WhiskyCast, cask strength conversation featuring news and interviews from the world of whiskey. I'm Mark Gillespie, and this is episode number 1078 for October 13th, 2024. Coming up in a few minutes.
It's just a challenge. It's always the challenge, and I think I'm pretty consistent in believing that I'd like to stretch myself.
We now know what John Campbell's next act will be after leaving Lockley Distillery earlier this year. He started this week as the new master distiller and chief operating officer for the tiny Sespe Creek Distillery in Oxnard, California, which makes Warbringer Bourbon. It's a move that virtually no one saw coming, and John explains why he's making the move in his first interview since joining Sespe Creek on this week's WhiskyCast In-Depth. I'll also have the What I'm Tasting This Week department, Behind the Label, and much more. The news is next on this week's WhiskyCast.
Gabriel Cardarella from Jewers here. The 2024 U.S. Open Championship may have ended, but you can still get your hands on the whiskey created to honor it. The new Jewers 19-Year-Old Champions Edition. Trust me, a whiskey you don't want to miss. More details coming up.
Let's get started with the week's news. It's brought to you by the Dalmore. Back in August, we reported on Sweden's Mackmyra Distillery filing for bankruptcy. Now the distillery has been bought by former board member Lennart Hero and an investment firm. According to the Spirits Business, Hero was Mackmyra's largest shareholder and its largest lender. In a news release, the buyers said they want to retain as many of Mackmyra's employees as possible and work with barrel owners to make sure they get to bottle their whiskeys as planned. Diageo wants to, quote, redevelop the Talisker Distillery on the Isle of Skye. The company has submitted a planning application to Highland Council to construct a new distillery on the site that would incorporate sustainable technologies and expand the output. According to the Press and Journal, the current distillery would be demolished once the new facility is completed. The paper quotes a Diageo spokesperson as saying there are no firm plans for the project yet, and the planning application allows the company to explore its options. Meanwhile, Argyll and Bute Council has granted permission for White & Mackay to upgrade its visitors center at Jura Distillery to include a permanent bar and whiskey tasting room. The bar will be for distillery visitors only and will not be open to the public. We reported a couple of months ago on Maine's Wiggly Bridge Distillery and its attempts to get zoning approval for an expansion. Now the planning board in York, Maine, has granted approval for a new storage facility identical to the distillery's current warehouse, but with the condition that it not be used for so-called ethanol-emitting processes. Nearby residents have been upset over the spread of whiskey fungus, so in other words, Wiggly Bridge can build the storage facility, but can't use it for aging whiskey. The town's voters will consider a petition in next month's election that would restrict any future distilleries in York to be at least 400 feet from housing units and on a lot of at least 25 acres. New whiskeys of note this week. Knob Creek is bringing back its limited edition 18-year-old bourbon. It's bottled at 50% ABV and will be available for a recommended retail price of $179.99 a bottle. Booker's is out with the year's third batch. This one is named the Master Distillers Batch in honor of all of the Master Distillers Fred Noe grew up admiring, including his father Booker Noe. The whiskey comes from two production dates, including Booker Noe's birthday on December 7th. It's priced at $100 a bottle while supplies last. Diageo's Orphan Barrel line is expanding with Woven Honor, an 18-year-old single malt scotch from Linkwood Distillery. It's available with a suggested retail price of $185 a bottle. Utah's High West Distillery is out with the 12th edition of A Midwinter Night's Dram, its annual release of rye whiskey blended from MGP and High West's own rye and finished in port wine barrels. It's available at the distillery in Park City and through the High West website for $150 a bottle. Pernod Ricard's Mary Dowling brand has released its third whiskey, a wheated bourbon that was aged for 4 years. It's priced at $55 a bottle. Brothers Bond has released its oldest whiskey yet, a 7-year-old bottled and bond bourbon using whiskey sourced from MGP. It's priced at $60 a bottle. I received a sample this week, and I'll have my tasting notes for it soon at whiskycast.com. Sagamore Spirit has also released its oldest rye whiskey yet, a 9-year-old straight rye using whiskey sourced from MGP. There's also a 7-year-old bottled and bond rye coming next month that uses Sagamore Spirit's own whiskey. Texas's Iron Root Republic Distillery is coming out with Sleight of Hand, a new straight bourbon that blends sourced whiskey with Iron Root Republic's own whiskey. There's no word on pricing. Ben Romick is releasing an unpeated single malt as part of its Contrasts range, with an eye for whiskey lovers to compare to their lightly peated core range. It's 9 years old and matured in a combination of bourbon and sherry casks, and it's priced at £60 a bottle in the UK. I received a sample this week, and I'll have my tasting notes for it soon at whiskycast.com. India's Royal Tiger Whiskey is releasing 2 single malts in the U.S. in time for the holidays, a sherry cask single malt and the Maharaja 10-year-old single malt. The sherry cask is priced at $70 a bottle, while the Maharaja is priced at $90. They're available in New Jersey and Michigan only for now. Sweden's High Coast Distillery has launched Mountains Borgbrygget, an unpeated Moscatel-finished single malt that's 8 years old. It's named after an ancient castle located near the distillery and will be available in High Coast's 10 export markets and Sweden. There's no word on pricing. And Japan's Nikko Whiskey is celebrating its 90th anniversary with a world blend that brings together whiskeys from the 1940s to the 2020s. The blend includes whiskeys from each of Nikko's 6 distilleries, including Ben Nevis in Scotland, along with Yoichi and Miyagikyo in Japan. 4,000 bottles are available worldwide, with 400 coming to the U.S. at a recommended retail price of $3,000 each. You can keep up with the latest whiskey news all week long at whiskycast.com and in the WhiskyCast community app. The news is brought to you by the Dalmore.
Hello, Richard Patterson here, Master Distiller, Master Blender for the Dalmore. You know, whenever the team and I are in the world sharing our exceptional single malt, we like to keep in touch with Mark Gillespie and the latest news from WhiskyCast.
Let's open up the calendar and see what's coming up around the world of whiskey. The Manchester Whiskey Festival is this coming Friday and Saturday in Manchester, England. The San Diego Spirits Festival takes place Saturday and Sunday in La Jolla, California. The inaugural Whiskey Global Toronto takes place on Saturday night, along with Sagamore Spirit Distillery's final Whiskey on the Waterfront party of the season in Baltimore, Maryland. Whiskey Fest Florida is on October 26th at the Seminole Hard Rock Resort and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Whiskies of the World stops in Seattle, Washington on November 9th, and the World Whiskey Experience is November 15th and 16th in London. If you're organizing a whiskey event, let us know about it. We'll add it to the calendars at whiskycast.com and in the WhiskyCast community app.
Every year, Dewar's, the official Scotch whiskey of the U.S. Open Championship, rolls out a special limited edition whiskey to celebrate that year's tournament. The 2024 championship wrapped up in June, but the 2024 Dewar's 19-year Pinehurst edition is available now, and you don't want to miss it. This year's 19-year whiskey is double-aged, then extra-matured in rye casks, offering a rich profile with notes of pear and heather honey. There's a hint of spice in there, too, along with a dusting of cinnamon and cocoa powder. It's a sensory delight for any true whiskey or golf fan. So trust me, my fellow aficionados, grab a bottle and enjoy a whiskey crafted with the same skill and precision that makes the U.S. Open legendary. Please drink responsibly. Copyright 2024. Dewar's Blended Scotch Whiskey, 46% alcohol by volume. Imported by John Dewar & Sons, Coral Gables, Florida.
WhiskyCast In-Depth is brought to you by Oban and the Classic Malts lineup. John Campbell has long been regarded as one of Scotland's best distillers. He spent 17 years at Laphroaig and the past 3 years at the Lochleigh Farm Distillery before leaving earlier this year. This week he started the next phase of his career at California's Sespe Creek Distillery, which makes Warbringer bourbon. He'll be the chief operating officer and master distiller for the tiny distillery. I caught up with John Friday on the very first call to his new U.S. mobile phone. So I don't think anybody saw this coming.
Yeah, me either for a long time. But it's just funny how things just turn up, and it becomes a possibility, I guess. So it took me by surprise, but I'm happy about the decision.
Why move to California and take up a role at a craft distillery after so many years in Scotland?
For lots of reasons. Lifestyle, being selfish, and kind of California. I'm getting to an age now where I need to think about kind of future and what it looks like, and what does life look like potentially after work as well. So that's the personal element of it. The kind of, I guess, career element is just a challenge. It's always the challenge, and I think I'm pretty consistent in believing that I'd like to stretch myself. So getting involved in bourbon and lots of probably other things I'll be involved with, the rum, the vodka, and we'll probably create maybe more new stuff as well. So just the whole kind of element of it just feels a comfort in doing it at this stage as well, leaning on experience and just leaning on all the kind of things I've gained over the last 30 years in Scotland. Yep.
How did this come about? Did they contact you? Did you contact them? How did it come about?
Yeah, just basically they contacted me. Yep, kind of through a mutual friend, but eventually it just for introductions basically only, and just met with the owner, and so we hit it off. We have a lot in common. I guess the thing that the business needed was spirits industry kind of knowledge and craft, and there's just it's a smoky bourbon, it's a mesquite smoked bourbon, so the kind of Lafroig heritage kind of plays into that a bit as well. And then just being at a kind of small craft distillery in Scotland after Lafroig, I kind of understand more of the needs of a small business now, as well as the kind of corporate kind of structures as well. So I just meshing all these things together, that it seemed like I was the right fit for them, and I got a nice feeling from the business. And so here I am.
When do you start?
I have started. On Tuesday, the 8th of October. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rush. In the last, had a couple of options to decide on after kind of announcing my decision to leave Lochleigh, and then just this one kind of, it just became clearer and clearer to me as the more we talked, the more we kind of developed things, the more the opportunity became. So it became kind of just more and more obvious. On basically, I'm going to maybe get the dates wrong here, Thursday the 4th, and I was flying across the Atlantic on the 7th.
What did your family think of this move?
Excited by it generally, yep. Wee bit of surprise at first. So that was all kind of done in the lead up to making the decision as well. So I think I'm really excited about the whole thing. Because there's also the practicality and making sure that everyone's okay with a potential decision as well. So been in Islay, talking to my parents, been on brother is there as well. All my sons were involved in the decision as well, so there wasn't one kind of negative comment about coming to the West Coast of the US, and everyone is extremely excited to come and visit as well.
What's going to be the biggest learning curve that you're going to have to make to get used to making bourbon?
Yeah, just there's different rules, isn't there? Completely with making American spirit compared to UK, and just can be litigious at some points, but equally not in other points as well. And just so, like, I'm in research in that, continuing to do lots of research and just trying to understand, like, the possibilities. I have a lot of experience in dealing and have a lot of network in the US in the bourbon industry as well. So I'll just lean on kind of past experiences and a lot of my good friends that I can call on to just ask the silly questions, I guess.
It sounds like you're excited about this.
I am very excited about this, yeah. And like, some people might be saying, well, he's not that excited. This is like, I'm usually a kind of flatlining guy, as you very well know. We've known each other for probably like 20 years now, Mark. But like, yeah, no, I am. I'm really excited about like just the whole challenge of moving country, moving cultures. So there's lots of elements to this that it's like I find exciting that maybe other people wouldn't find exciting, and it's just like just feeling uncomfy, getting the comfort levels. It's amazing, even like just like I don't know how to live. I just got my phone last night, so that was getting a phone is not the easiest thing in the world if you're moving to another country. Getting my bank account hopefully next week, and just setting up all these foundations I find exciting. Like understanding like what it is in California and like what the do's and don'ts are. Getting a school for my son, getting a house set up for my family to come to as well. So like all of these personal challenges, and then just as we've talked about there, the whole professional challenge of the category. Equally, there's lots of kind of most of the elements I do know technically, but it's just about understanding the possibilities, I guess. And so all of that I find stretching, and I like that. So yeah, I'm excited just about the all-round challenge, I guess.
What's going to be the biggest adjustment that you have to make?
Sunscreen, I think. Just making sure I put the sunscreen on before I go out the house in the morning. Again, you know, and I'm sure probably a lot of your viewers know as well, like I've been coming to America for 20 years, representing Lefroy and Lochleigh. So, like, the country isn't new to me and things like that. I like the culture, I like the kind of the can-do attitude with the community. So, like, it's just about embracing that and, just getting on with it.
How long do you think it'll be before we see your influence on Warbringer?
You know, that's a good question. There is all the stock laid down, and maybe we are doing a stock review probably in about 2 weeks' time, where we'll go through every cask that we do have on site. So I need to understand the liquid. I need to get my feet under the table and understand how it's developing. I've set up just the meeting with the team at the distillery yesterday and trying to explain how I want to understand how the liquid develops, kind of what they understand the liquid to do, and just to try and really get a feel for it as fast as possible so that we can make adjustments. They'll be very subtle. It's not my job to change things. Like like structurally. It's just to try and enhance things subtly, and then just try and build on what we feel are the best moves kind of going forward. So there might be elements in the blending section kind of very quickly, but probably longer term, it's going to be probably probably a couple of years before you see things coming through, I would have thought. The shock, I guess, and I'm just excited about the opportunity that kind of lies before me and the challenge that lies before me as well. So, just excited to get going, and we just have to build like the name, and the distribution is a big thing as well. So, like, we will be working, and that's, I guess, my role, to get more distribution, to get more access to the liquid, and to get more kind of understanding of what the Sespe Creek Distillery produces, mainly with Warbringer, but equally with Silvergun vodka and Barley Clearone.
Tell me about the distillery itself.
Yeah, no, it's a small distillery based in Oxnard. It doesn't have a huge amount of casks, maybe about 150. So it's small volume. The plan is to really kind of start to grow that. They actually have kind of kept production back so that we can have a run at the end of the year, basically, once we've done the liquid review, to then start setting kind of steps going forward. But yeah, it isn't open to the public as yet, but that is, again, something we're looking to improve on and hopefully get in place next year. And it's based in Oxnard, which is in Ventura County, just north. It's about an hour north of Los Angeles. I'll be basing myself in Los Angeles, probably somewhere close-ish to the airport. But yeah, I'll be up at the distillery a lot short term. Just, again, understanding the liquid is the thing, and then getting us more kind of widespread known, and the distribution agreement set up will be the next job. But yeah, it's very small. It follows kind of single malt, Scottish single malt style of whiskies as well. So it's a double distillation. It isn't like column distillation like a lot of bourbon distilleries would be. So it follows it does its mash, ferment, and then will double distill the liquid before kind of maturation. It's all done on the same site as well. Just on the outskirts of Oxnard, right beside the kind of strawberry field. So it's a lovely location. Looking forward to getting involved in the community as well. I think that's really important, that we get really engaged in our community and trying to get the support of the community as well. So we'll be trying to do all these things over the medium term.
Thanks to John Campbell for joining us this week on WhiskyCast In-Depth, and we wish him the best of luck in his new venture. WhiskyCast In-Depth is brought to you by Bourbon, a deliciously smooth single malt known for its coastal charm and Highland heritage, loved by whiskey lovers worldwide. Discover Bourbon's full lineup at malts.com. I spent most of the week in Washington judging whiskeys and other spirits in the American Craft Spirits Association's annual competition, and by the time we were done, all I wanted was a cold beer. So the What I'm Tasting This Week department is actually the What I've Been Tasting Over the Last Few Weeks department. Let's start off with the newest release from Ireland's Waterford whiskey, Waterford Heritage Goldthorpe. It's made with an heirloom strain of barley called Goldthorpe and is bottled at 50% ABV. The nose is grassy with touches of straw, mushrooms, and an earthy character. The taste has notes of lemon zest, barley sugar, mushrooms, and honey. The finish is long and earthy with a lingering spicy kick, and I'm scoring the Waterford Heritage Goldthorpe Irish Single Malt a 93. Next up, the Bladnoch 30-year-old. It's matured in a combination of Oloroso and Muscatel wine casks and bottled at 45.5% ABV. The nose has a honey sweetness along with apricots, green grapes, and dried flowers. The taste has notes of orange peel, apricots, dried flowers, and honey, while the finish is long and luscious with tropical fruits. I'm scoring the Bladnoch 30-year-old a 94. And finally, let's look at the new Glengoyne 24-year-old single malt. It's matured in ex-bourbon and virgin oak casks and bottled at 47.5% ABV. The nose has touches of honeydew melons, honey, vanilla, and dried fruits. The taste starts off with spicy notes of clove and allspice that fade to reveal honey, melons, vanilla, and dried fruits. The finish is long and fruity, and I'm scoring the Glengoyne 24-year-old a 93. I'll be adding these tasting notes to our searchable list of nearly 3,800 different whiskeys from around the world. Check it out this week at WhiskyCast.com. Let's check the inbox now and see what people are talking about this week. Our community segment is presented by Waterford Whiskey. Had one comment on last week's interview with Wes Henderson about his new True Story whiskeys and his plans to upgrade the Kentucky Castle Boutique Hotel and Whiskey Bar. Natty posted this comment on Spotify. Call me, Mr. Henderson, when the renovation is done. I'll gladly leave Virginia to aid in expanding the Whiskey Hotel bar experience. Signed, Cripple Bartender. Had several comments on Diageo's plans to build a new Talisker Distillery and raise the current one that I mentioned during the news. HRC posted in the app, sure it will be nice, but now I want to get there before they redevelop. The Tracer Bullet chimed in with, guess I need to hurry up and see the original before it's gone. Juan Cruz posted this, it's unclear to me as why the plan involves demolishing buildings that are part of the history of the site instead of repurposing and preserving it. And B. Skinnerd took a shot at Diageo with this response. Does anyone really trust Diageo anymore? First step in the premiumization process they have been doing with all their brands. At some point, consumers have to say enough is enough. If you have an opinion you'd like to share with whiskey lovers around the world, download the free WhiskyCast community app from your app store and join the conversation. You can also find us on X, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram at WhiskyCast, and our email address is comments@whiskycast.com. Our community segment is presented by Waterford Whiskey on the web at waterfordwhiskey.com.
Every Irish single-farm origin gives completely different flavours when it's malted, fermented, distilled and matured. That's why we're exploring Irish terroir. Imagine how many flavours we find working with over 100 of them. Waterford Whiskey, the most naturally flavoursome single malt.
Let's close out the show now with Behind the Label, our look at the history, science, and people who make whiskey unique. Scott Rogers posted this note in the WhiskyCast community app the other day. Instead of a traditional mash tun, Iowa's Cedar Ridge Distillery runs their mash through a pressurized set of filters. I'd love to hear more about this technology on Behind the Label, Mark. Master distiller Murph Quint says their yield of fermentable liquid from the mash has gone from about 70% to close to 99% since switching 2 years ago. Well, mash filters are commonly used in breweries where they want a clear mash to go into the fermenters, but a few distilleries use them, most notably Waterford and Middleton in Ireland and Inchdarney and Tianinic in Scotland. Mash filters work by filtering out the solids from a mash that would normally be left behind after a mash tun is drained. They use replaceable pads that absorb the solids and leave behind a clear wort to be fermented. Essentially, it splits the process of mashing into 2 steps, the cooking of the grain in the conversion vessel and the separation of liquids and solids. It allows a distiller to use more finely ground grain in the mash tun, since there is no need to use the grain husks as a filter bed at the bottom of the lauter tun while the liquid is being drained off. And as for Cedar Ridge's claim that yield of fermentable liquid has gone up since installing the mash filter 2 years ago, that makes a lot of sense. The wort that comes off the filter has a higher specific gravity that makes for more efficient fermentation. There are drawbacks, though. Mash filters require a lot more maintenance and take up a lot of space. Scott, I hope that answers your question, and if there's something you'd like us to look at on an upcoming episode, just get in touch with us. That's all for this episode of WhiskyCast. You'll find links for the stories in this episode in our show notes at whiskycast.com. That's also where you'll find the latest whiskey news, my tasting notes, the calendar of events, the whiskey photo of the week, and, of course, a complete archive of past episodes going all the way back to 2005. Get in touch with us on X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at WhiskyCast, or you can use the WhiskyCast Community app. Download it today from the Apple and Google App Stores. Our email address is comments@whiskycast.com.
The 2024 release of Dewar's 19-Year-Old Champions Edition is out now, available at Dewars.com. Get it while you can and appreciate every double-aged rye cask finished dram. Please drink responsibly.
WhiskyCast is a production of Cask Strength Media, copyright 2024. And comes to you from the charming, yet regrettably dry town of Haddonfield, New Jersey. I'm Mark Gillespie, reminding you that when you drink, please drink responsibly. Thanks for listening.